An image of iron chains tightly bound together with a mysterious blue light appearing. A sound echoes in the darkness. Hey, do you remember? A tale from long ago. About a king of mankind who discovered a portal leading to another world. The story begins when the portal is opened. At that very moment, people panicked and ran away. Everyone was engulfed in fear, before the creatures pouring out from the portal. That's right, speaking of which, a set of sharp teeth appeared. The world beyond the portal is none other than the demon realm where the hideous demons reign. Countless magical creatures surged out from the portal and our peaceful world was destroyed. Countless lives were lost, and everything was stained a deep red. Then the king of mankind fervently prayed to the deities. An image of a king appeared along with the words, "O great deity, please grant us the strength to vanquish these evil magical creatures." Right after that, a brilliant beam of light appeared in the sky, and the monsters turned to black dust and vanished. From then on, some people received special marks granting them magical powers. Those who possessed the ability to confront those terrifying monsters were called wizards. Thus, peace was restored to the world. However, an image of a boy standing alone in a graveyard emerged. The footsteps grew faster. A wizard, panic-stricken, looked towards the child amidst the ruins, the one who had answered the king's prayer back then. His face was pale. Could it really be? The child turned to look at him, his expression emotionless, asking deity under the bright moonlight. In that palace, laughter echoed in the lavish banquet. How annoying! A displeased voice suddenly interrupted the atmosphere. Seren frowned. "You said this was a gathering of wizards?" The brown-haired girl behind her forced a smile. Seren angrily replied, "I wouldn't have come if I knew this place was full of bothersome nobles." The brown-haired girl adjusted Seren's hair and reminded her, "You're being too loud." Seren, hearing this, she immediately retorted, "I heard that the dark wizard might show up, but it turned out to be a blatant lie." The girl comforted her. "Surely there will be other opportunities." Seren limited, "I'll only sing one song." Okay, she agreed. Fine then. There's a warning about magical creatures in the Lupin Forest. They say the caravan suffered heavy losses. Seren scoffed, "And yet these bothersome nobles can still throw a party. How ridiculous!" The brown-haired girl anxiously reminded her Lady Seren. Seren thought to herself, "I really want to meet the dark sorcerer." Seeing Seren on stage, the crowd below erupted. Oh, it's finally starting. I never thought I could hear Seren sing. They say her voice is like a heavenly choir. I wonder if the rumors are true." Seren suddenly opened her eyes wide in surprise. The crowd below turned pale, panicking. Seren was confused. What's going on? The song hasn't even started yet. Why does everyone look so strange? Behind her, unseen, were the huge, red-eyed monsters clinging to the door, causing the nobles to flee in terror. Seren glanced back in horror. The large glass door shattered under the pressure from the monsters. Everyone screamed in panic. What is that?" A monster's leg burst through the broken glass, lunging towards her. Seren jumped, her eyes wide. Suddenly, a figure wielding dark magic stepped in front of her to block them. The monsters howled in agony. Seren looked in surprise at that person. Her gaze clearly showed her disbelief and astonishment. Rude Krishy swung his weapon continuously at the monsters. He had a serious expression, showing no fear. The remaining fat monsters clung tightly to the glass, refusing to let go. Rude Krishy's magic shot out, exploding them. Their painful screams echoed loudly. Their slimy remains splattered onto Seren's face. She sat slumped on the stage. After the terrifying battle, her brown-haired friend rushed over, calling Seren. The brown-haired girl hurriedly asked, "Oh no, are you okay?" But Seren seemed not to hear. She was still focused ahead on that person. Seren realized it's him it must be. The dark sorcerer of Opian. The full moon appeared. On the ground, a mysterious figure stood atop a skull. The handsome face of the mysterious figure came into view. Seren was even more certain it's definitely him. He is the dark sorcerer. The brown-haired girl tugged at her. "I understand now, Seren. We need to get you to safety first." The nobles looked at them in confusion. The dark sorcerer. They began to panic. "Is the dark sorcerer really here? I've heard about him. He comes from a famous place called Opion, the one who saved countless lives that day." Rude slowly walked towards Seren. "You opened your mouth, huh? What's going on, Seren?" Rude asked, "Are you hurt?" She blushed and replied, "Oh, I'm fine, really." Seeing that you continued, "That's good to hear. Well, even though it's not the right time, but..." Seren focused on what you were saying. Rude placed a hand on his chest seriously. "Can I ask you for a favor?" Seren clenched her fists, her eyes shining as she eagerly responded, "Sure, anything." "You reached into your shirt intending to pull something out, so..." You pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to Seren. "Can I get your signature?" Seren was surprised. "My signature?" You replied, "Yes, right here, please." Your words made Seren ask again, "Is that all?" Rude quickly added, "Oh, and your name too. In that magnificent tower." Everyone present was astonished, whispering among themselves, "The Dark Sorcerer, really? The Dark Sorcerer." Rude seemed used to the gossip. "I've always thought about this. I hate crowded places. The chatter just gets into my ears. Is he on his way back after completing his mission? A Dark Sorcerer. I want to talk to him." The murmurs grew louder with curiosity mixed with admiration from everyone. In response to that enthusiasm, he seemed indifferent, thinking, "That's why I avoid coming here in this form." A voice interrupted your thoughts, and you turned slightly. It was Ren, your colleague. "Oh, Lu, wait, no, Blow. What are you doing at the main gate at this hour?" Blow called out, confused. "Ren." The two whispered awkwardly. "I guess it's about the master, right? Are you here to report on your mission?" Rude replied, feeling down. "Yeah, anyway, this isn't a pleasant mission." Ren excitedly chimed in. "Finally you finished it, huh? As if I had a choice, being as weak as I am." While talking, you noticed something and asked, "By the way, what are you holding?" Ren looked flustered. "Huh? Oh, it's nothing, just some paperwork." They chatted for a while before parting ways. "I have to go now. The master is probably in the study. Let's grab a bite later, okay?" "Sure." Just a few steps away, a piece of paper fell from Ren's hand. "Oh, Ren, you dropped this." Rude gently picked it up and said. The content of that paper left him in disbelief. It was an advertisement that read, "For you, if you have any inquiries, please contact the Dark Sorcerer," and you were the main character in that paper. Ren panicked. "Blow, did you see that?" You asked, "Did the master do this?" "Oh, about that." Along with her guilt, Ren didn't know how to explain anymore. She hesitantly said, "I completely opposed it, you know, but the master—" Before she could finish, Rude vanished, leaving her with a pile of papers scattered on the ground. Ren stood there, stunned, calling your name Blow. In the workspace filled with sunlight, the master leisurely enjoyed his tea. He looked outside, hands on his hips, and let out a soft sigh. Then he leisurely exclaimed, "What a beautiful day!" But a sudden kick against the door shattered the calm atmosphere. The master jumped and turned around. "Hey, who's opening the door like they want to break it?" He was interrupted by a piece of paper that flew straight into his face without any hesitation. "Huh, what's this?" Rude, with an expressionless face, silently stared. He recognized someone and called out, "Blow? You're here, I've been waiting for you." The master greeted him with a bright smile. "What's wrong? Did someone give you a hard time on your way here?" the master said with a hint of grievance. Rude could no longer hold back, shaking with anger. "You're the one who's making it hard for me? Look at this." "This?" The master felt a pang of guilt. He quickly tossed the paper aside. After finishing, he chuckled. "It's gone now. What did you want me to look at?" Rude stood there, unable to believe his eyes. "You're kidding me, right? Lately I keep hearing all this noise everywhere I go." "Oh, the Dark Wizard, the Dark Wizard," he continued, not sounding very pleased. "Didn't you say I should go into Opium looking like this? And now you're doing all this without even asking me first." "I'm so embarrassed I can't even show my face outside," the master boasted about his creation, crossing his arms. "Well, it's because the biggest star of Opium Blow is just too shy. It's understandable." Rude angrily slammed a piece of paper down on the table. He didn't say a word, and the master stared at him with wide eyes, startled. He reacted, "Oh, did you succeed? Get Seren's autograph?" Rude's face remained unchanged. "This is the last time I'm doing something this silly for a mission." The master sighed. "There's no other way. Find Mrs. Eland's lost puppy, deliver Roan's heartfelt love letter, and so on. There are still so many valuable missions waiting for you," the master said with an innocent look, pointing at the thick stack of papers beside him, which made Rude furious. He shouted, "Enough already!" The master, ignoring Rude's raging anger, praised him. "But still you got it. They say Miss Seren is very picky, so she never talks to strangers." Rude denied. "She didn't seem like that at all." Still, she looked a bit surprised by the sudden attack. He asked in disbelief, "Sudden attack?" The Ravi region where Miss Seren operates is supposed to be a safe area. Did you run into a group of bandits?" Rude replied, "No." "It was a demon," he said with a serious expression. "It was just a medium-sized one, so not too strong, but it's strange for a monster like that to appear in Ravi, which is protected by top wizards, right?" The master, hearing this, sat down in agreement. "You're right, this is very unusual. We need to investigate thoroughly. But hey, I can't believe you still got Seren's autograph in that situation. Seriously." Rude huffed. "Who made me do this?" The master calmly replied, "That's not the issue here." "And how long are you planning to keep this form, Rudy?" He sarcastically said, "Thanks to someone who keeps giving me these weird missions, I've accumulated too much magical power." Dark energy swirling around Rude. He looked at him and said, "Your name is Blow? Awakening Liberation." The master looked at the familiar figure and exclaimed, "Oh, Rude, you seem taller than the last time we met." After the magic was released, Rude returned to his original form with golden hair. "Really?" he replied unconsciously. "That doesn't matter. Now that I've got Seren's signature, give me a proper mission, Rude shouted loudly. Their eyes met, each conveying different emotions. Rude was cold and somber. Meanwhile, the master smiled politely. No, I'm serious, the master interrupted sternly before Rude could finish. Since that day, many wizards, even ordinary people, have been watching you. In fact, the Shik Muan of the association is hunting you down with fierce anger. From now on, things will get more dangerous. We can't continue like before. I'm worried about that. Rude frowned, resigned, holding the paper in his hand, questioning, "And you still want me to stay in this form? Do you have another one?" The master shrank back, feeling guilty. Rude couldn't take it anymore and asked seriously, "Stop joking around. Are you going to give me a mission or not?" The master said, "All right, I have a pretty big mission for you. It involves an auction that only happens 3 times a year, a place specializing in trading rare and unique items. However, for this auction, I've received information that a high-grade magic stone will be up for bidding." Rude was surprised. A high-grade magic stone. "That's right," he replied, "but the problem is, other wizards have also heard this information. You understand what I mean, right? This mission could be extremely thrilling," the master said with a deep expression. After Rude left, the master pondered deeply. "I couldn't give this to him if he saw it. He would definitely be very angry." It's Rude's admission letter to the Helios Magic Academy. The content is very clear. Name Rude Krishy, age 15. Since he passed the basic exam of the Helios Magic Academy and met the requirements, we are pleased to inform you that he has been accepted into the Helios Magic Academy. At the bottom of the page, the Helios Magic Academy is printed in bright gold. At the auction house, the high ceiling was fitted with transparent glass panels that allowed a clear view of the vast night sky adorned with countless stars. Many people were gathering here. On the stage where the auction would take place stood a large winged statue of a person in a prayerful pose. In the quiet space, the sound of the auctioneer's shoes echoed, followed by 4 guards, and the attendees had gathered around. The man in white gloves extended one hand forward. He bowed in a noble manner and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting." He looked straight ahead, smiling. At the same time, he spread his arms, guiding everyone to the focus of tonight's event. All right, the auction that many have been looking forward to, let it begin. The number of people attending the auction is quite large. Up on the 2nd floor, Ren raised her hand to her forehead to observe the surroundings. Today, she wore a bright red dress adorned with flowers and commented, "Wow, there are so many people here. That stone, the so-called Shazan heart, must be really something." Rude, still wearing his usual hooded cloak, replied, "It's been a while since we've seen the highest grade stones appear." She huffed lightly as if she had noticed something. She was worried. There really were a lot of wizards here. Would everything be all right? Sir Black Mage, you were also intently observing below and replied, Why wouldn't I? You mumbled, "First of all, my goal is different from theirs. Besides, my own purpose is also different." Ren turned to you, helplessly calling your name Rude. You were lost in your own thoughts, thinking, maybe, just maybe, this will be a lot of fun. Before coming here, you had received a mission from the head of the Opion Association. So what was this mission? You picked up the paper. There was someone with a deep grudge against a person who would appear at the auction seeking revenge on their behalf. Rude emphasized your words, "seeking revenge on their behalf." That's right. A wicked wizard had completely ruined the life of the client, and now they wanted a fitting revenge. You handed the information about that wizard to the boy, stating the requirements. Based on what we found, he is a typical villain who exploits and deceives the weaker ones. To date, his number of victims is not just 1 or 2, and he is very good at evading the law. You read the information from the paper with suspicion, but this wizard is an easy target, right? The picture shows a guy with shoulder-length, slightly curly hair. The data about him includes his real name is Dan Marcel, 38 years old, male, title of Wizard Cloak, officially ranked as a low-level intermediate 3rd-grade wizard. Important information: he previously resided in Danburg, has a criminal record, has been warned and expelled, and is currently on the move. The head of the association said in a teasing tone, "That's why I'm asking for your help." You were sweating. "You don't mean for me to kill him, do you?" He looked at you seriously. "Of course not. A scoundrel like that can't be killed so easily." You continued, "Then what?" He briefly explained the mission. Since a high-grade stone would appear, many people would gather here, from auction participants to spectators and those with other intentions. In such a crowded place, we first need to find him. And once we find him, we'll capture him. You read the information about that wizard, carefully starting to speculate, capture him and break his arms and legs, torture him brutally. He clasped his hands in front of his face and said clearly, "Strip him." The whole room fell silent. You couldn't believe your ears. "What?" He repeated the request. Just strip him. Rude angrily snatched the paper from your hands and shouted, "No!" He immediately raised his hands to calm you down. "Hey, why I didn't say you had to kill him, just strip him." "How could you ask something so ridiculous? No, why should I do that? What kind of revenge is this?" He patiently calmed you down, because that's the client's request. Just listen to my explanation. "According to the client's information, there are rumors that he is a member of Coatl." You asked back, "Coatl, isn't that the crime organization that disappeared a long time ago?" He immediately agreed, "That's right. At that time, the government declared that they had been completely wiped out, but considering the enormous bounty that was later placed, it's not surprising if someone managed to escape." The auction location Leyden has a deep grudge against Coatl. It's said that members of Coatl have a tradition of carving the organization's symbol onto their bodies with rumen venom, and once carved, it cannot be removed. If that symbol is revealed to the crowd, it would be a perfect act of revenge. Rude fell silent for a moment. You hesitated. "But that's just a rumor, right? What if I strip him and see nothing?" He raised his hands in defense. "Well, that's still a form of revenge, isn't it? You refuse to go straight out the door? I won't do it. The association's master pleads with you. No, only the superstar of Opion can do it. That's how it is. And now you're standing at the place where the auction is taking place, feeling a bit hazy." Ren looks at you worriedly. "Are you sure you'll be okay?" You hesitate. "I'll manage somehow." "In another part of this floor." Laughter rings out joyfully. A sweet girl's clear voice chimes in. "This is so much fun. There are so many people." The little princess leans forward over the railing while the bespectacled guard behind her holds onto her dress to ensure her safety and reminds her, "We're not here just to play." The girl protests. "Then," he replies seriously, "we're just here to observe." The princess cheerfully says, "Right, I have a feeling something exciting is about to happen." Finishing her sentence, the princess turns back to the girl standing not far behind and calls out, "Tessie!" There's no response. The girl whispers, "Tessie." The girl is still standing by the door with her arms crossed, eyes tightly shut. The guard helplessly tells the little girl Miss Tessiana has dozed off. A bell chimes. The prince, sitting very seriously, suddenly hears a call, "Lapis." He and the king are also participating in the auction. The king lifts his glass of wine and conveniently reminds his son, "Stay alert, observe carefully." Lapis obediently replies, "Yes, sir." He continues, "With this many mages gathered, something interesting is definitely going to happen." He clenches his hand, resting on his thigh. He respectfully replies, "Yes, father." A green leaf flutters in the air. 2 leaves fall down. In another place, Mage Hound Lanost speaks up, "Look, Shik!" He turns to his companion, emphasizing, "Our mission today is to protect the magic stone. Remember, let me repeat it clearly. The mission is to protect, not to destroy. Are you listening?" Shik remains seated on the bench, seemingly ignoring Hound's words, holding a green twig and mumbling, "He will come, he will come." Despite Hound's many words, he doesn't respond, just fiddles with the leaves, pulling them off the twig. His disregard infuriates Hound Lanost, who snaps, "Hey, Shik!" He continues plucking a leaf, simply replying, "You're too chatty, old man." Hound Lanost, furious, retorts, "Who are you calling old man? Say that again. Our mission is—" The last leaf on the twig gently sways. He doesn't even pay attention to Hound's words. He tosses the twig aside. Then he steps on it, crushing it. His mouth twitches into a sly grin. He stands up and uses fire to burn all the twigs and leaves on the ground, declaring he will come. At the center stage, where the auction takes place, the auctioneer calls out loudly, "The noble necklace of Leet will belong to the beautiful lady over there. Congratulations." He places one hand on his chest and speaks solemnly. "And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the most important item of the day." This statement captures the attention of everyone present, including Ren and Rude, the princess, the king, and the prince. The auctioneer continues, "I believe everyone knows what it is by now. A treasure of immense value collected with countless difficulties. The finest monostone imbued with the power of the great mage Shazarno." He pulls back the cloth to reveal the monostone, radiating a dazzling light, the heart of Shazan. Everyone's eyes widen in amazement, gasping in awe. The auctioneer spreads his arms as if inviting everyone in. The light is so brilliant, just looking at it you can feel its overwhelming power. This is your chance to become the owner of this mana stone. The auction officially begins. Ren, observing intently below, asks, "Rude, have you found your target yet?" He hesitates. "Not yet, my view is obstructed." She looks at him, not believing what he just said. He remains calm. "I'm serious. The energy of the crowd is mixing together. What if something happened to him and he couldn't make it?" She quickly dismisses his fanciful thoughts. No, stop dreaming. Face reality. Regardless, he still needs to be ready for what's about to happen. "Come on, we should prepare." He actively pulls back the curtain. A wave of dark energy appears. Dark energy swirls around him. A mark appears on the back of his hand, and Rude prepares to awaken as Blow. "My name is Blow." Ren helps him keep the curtain closed as he awakens, unable to help but marvel, no matter how many times I see it, it's still amazing. A mage with transformation abilities like you is truly rare. She stares at the boy in front of her. How did that kid turn into such a handsome young man? Hearing Ren refer to him as a kid makes him slightly irritated. Sorry for being a kid. She finds it amusing, covering her mouth and saying, "Oh my, I was just joking." Ren steps forward to open the curtain slightly, turning back to ask him, "How's your mana?" Rude replies, "Neither hot nor cold. It's enough, but more importantly." Suddenly he pauses and slowly adds, "They're coming." Ren, confused, asks, "Who?" After her question, a commotion outside creates loud noises along with shattered glass flying everywhere. The two can't help but look over in curiosity. Amidst the chaos, someone bursts into gleeful laughter while a group of soldiers in armor reacts slowly and frantically grabs their weapons. The cause of the disturbance is a man holding a knife to the auctioneer's throat, shouting, "Damn it, get out of the way!" with a mocking laugh. He, along with his teammate, the scar-faced guy beside him, boldly proclaims, "That mana stone is," referring to the glowing yellow stone on the table. Despite being surrounded by soldiers, the man with the knife at the auctioneer's throat excitedly shouts, "It's ours!" Ren furrows her brow as she observes the situation below, asking, "Who are they?" Fearless, despite facing the soldiers, the knife-wielding man continues to yell, put down your weapons, and step back!" His eyes were wild, and with a defiant expression, he slowly said, "Whoever doesn't back down." Right after that, the robber unleashed a powerful warning, "You all..." The pressure from his energy made the soldiers clutch their heads in pain. His strength struck directly at their minds, leaving them both astonished and terrified. Without giving the soldiers a chance to recover, his accomplice wielded a weapon and unleashed an attack that knocked the standing soldiers down. Then a golden circle spun in the air. He reached out to catch his weapon. Seeing that everything around him had been taken down, he arrogantly threw the host onto the ground, feeling quite pleased. He seemed unable to contain himself any longer and hurriedly said, "I'm so bored, I can't wait any longer." Then the robber extended his hand towards the precious stone and arrogantly declared, "Now we're going to take this stone." Suddenly a hand in a white glove grabbed the robber's wrist. It was a man dressed in high-ranking attire with animal ears on his head. He looked at the sweating man in front of him and asked, "Who the hell are you?" The man said nothing, then forcefully twisted his arm, causing the robber to feel pain and scream in anger. He fell back, his voice trembling as he shouted, "My hand! You ate those gloves! Are you a wizard from the guild?" Upon hearing the man's identity, everyone began to murmur, "The guild who?" Since this was an auction, there were naturally many people present, and they started sharing information with each other. "Animal ears a tail. There was a famous wizard like that before. I bet he's from the guild." One person suddenly raised his voice. "Ah, I remember now." The man revealed himself with a serious expression, a scar under his mouth, resting his hand on his hip. "You are the Hound of the Guild, Hound of Lanost." If he hadn't heard it, it would have been fine, but now that he had, he couldn't help but laugh in anger. Dog. Immediately, he turned to the crowd and shouted, "I am not a dog, who dares to call me that?" On the other side, the remaining accomplice of the robber gritted his teeth and muttered, "Damn it, those scum from the guild." The robber, seemingly losing his mind, hurled his weapon at Hound Lanost, screaming, "Die!" Caught off guard, he couldn't dodge in time, and as fate would have it, he was struck on the head by the robber's weapon. The two robbers were taken aback. The thrown weapon seemed to hit something hard, bouncing off and embedding itself into a pillar. The sneak attack from that guy was like a scratch for Hound. He showed no emotion and slowly said, "Hey, those two are panicking." He turned to look at the two with a murderous gaze and said, "That last hit hurt, you know." The two robbers shuddered in fear upon hearing that. Up above, where Rude and his colleagues were eavesdropping, Ren appeared surprised by the unfolding events. "What the hell, I thought it was just a bunch of scarecrows, but it turns out they have a trump card." "But a wizard from the guild, I can't believe it!" The arrogant bastard, suddenly Rude, interrupted Ren. "Your expression has darkened a bit, warning you to look closely. That person is the sorcerer who was with that guy that day." She glanced at you with suspicion, wondering what does this mean. After beating up the two robbers, Hound spoke up. All right." He stood with his hands on his hips in front of the magical stone, addressing the crowd. "All the sorcerers present here, listen carefully. I know you're all interested in this rare, high-level magical stone, but if you act recklessly, the consequences won't be pleasant." Hound Lanost coldly looked at the people here and continued, "So behave and wait until the auction is over, understood. From now on, anyone who touches the stone or has any suspicious intentions will have to face me." After giving his instructions, he turned to look around. "Now I believe everyone understands, so let's..." Looking at the display table that was now empty, Hound Lanos gasped and pressed his hand against his cheek in panic, thinking the magical stone is gone. Just then a scream echoed, "Over there!" He quickly looked in the direction the person was pointing. The stone was now in the hands of a red-haired man, shocking him. "Hey, Shik Muan, what are you doing?" He seemed to have a problem as he looked up at the sky, a slight smirk on his lips, saying, "I can feel it. I can feel him. He's definitely here." Hound, with a face full of confusion, shouted, "What the heck?" Shik Muan stood atop the statue, raising his voice. "Hey, Blackie, you're after this, right? If you want it, come and take it." His eyes suddenly turned a bizarre red as he added, "If you don't show yourself, I'll take it all." The crowd below buzzed with excitement. "Blackie, the Shik Muan Guild, what's happening with the magical stone?" Ren looked worriedly at the unfolding situation and called out, "Blow the Blackie he's talking about is..." She looked at you with curiosity and asked, "What's up, Rude Krishy?" said nothing, just silently observing the situation. Ren's face turned pale and she quickly calculated in her head, This is more complicated than I thought. Looking at that expression, if they meet, it won't be easy. Isn't retreating a better option right now?" Rude, kneeling on the railing, firmly spoke up. "No, I can't abandon the mission just because of a nobody like that." She looked at you thinking to herself, "Nobody red dust." Seeing she couldn't persuade you, she sighed, "All right, let's think of a way. We're out of options." Meanwhile, the crowd below kept discussing, "Oh my, I was looking forward to such a rare high-level magical stone, but that Shik Muan guy has made me lose all interest in competing." The people split into smaller groups, getting even more agitated. "There are plenty of sorcerers here. If the two of us join forces, it shouldn't be too hard." "Don't joke around. He's on a completely different level from us. That's Shik Muan from the guild." The whispers grew louder. "Unless it's the dark sorcerer he just fought who would be crazy enough to challenge Shik Muan." While the crowd was noisy, Tessiana glided past. Suddenly, it seemed like the crowd saw something and the atmosphere turned silent. Shik Muan, standing on the statue, also fell silent. He suddenly smirked. "I see." Shik Muan seemed to find it amusing and disdainfully spoke, "You've got guts wanting to play hide-and-seek." Hound couldn't take it anymore and shouted in frustration, "Shik, stop this madness and come down now." He quickly replied from above, "Old man, step aside. You're blocking the way." Hearing what Shik Muan just said, Hound grew even angrier. "Do you want me to let you taste hell?" Suddenly, a sword flew from the sky towards the statue. Both Shik Muan and Hound were taken aback. The strike hit the statue directly. The strike was so powerful that the statue cracked slightly and he felt it quickly jumping down. Meanwhile, Hound stood below, astonished, wondering what on earth was happening. In response, the statue fell heavily to the ground. No longer majestic, the statue was now shattered into many pieces. Amidst the white dust, a figure of a woman emerged. The one who struck was Tessiana, and they looked at her in disbelief. Hound, panicking, spoke to her. "Hey, you did this, didn't you?" Tessiana replied with an icy expression, "I just came to participate in the auction fairly." Surprisingly, her cold face could also pull off an adorable action as she raised a silver coin and said, "I even brought another coin," making him think silently, "What can a single coin do?" Right after that, Tessiana directed her green eyes forward, but she looked straight at Shik Muan, accusing him, "You intervened first, you..." Before Tessiana could finish, Shik Muan interrupted, "No, you're the one who intervened." He shot her an angry glare, calling her a crazy woman, and Tessiana shot back at him defiantly. Above, Ren seemed very excited. Where did that blue-haired guy suddenly come from? I don't know how long he can stall, but this is a great opportunity for us." She glanced at Rude, who was standing on the railing, smiling knowingly. "Right. Blow," she called. He seemed to understand and replied, "Of course." Looking at the crowd, Rude slowly said, "I've found him. The one you were focused on is Dan Marcel." He seemed to be contemplating something, keeping his eyes fixed on the guy confirming the target. A thick cloud of smoke. An explosive shockwave created more mist. Tessiana dashed toward Shik Muan. Her face was emotionless, her gaze sharp, and she held her sword ready to strike. He just stood still, watching her approach. Just as the sword struck him, Shik Muan gripped the blade tightly with one hand. Tessiana was stunned by his action, exclaiming, "Why?" He smirked disdainfully. "You clueless fools are bothering me, huh?" With his other hand, he waved and a bright red spell erupted. In just one move, Tessiana was sent flying away. With just one move, Tessiana was sent flying far away. The explosion was like an atomic bomb. It left those standing far away in shock at its immense power. After the blast, as the mist began to clear, Shik Muan saw something that surprised him. In the distance, through the thick, hazy fog, a girl was still bravely fighting. She said, "My name is Tessiana," he silently observed. Tessiana's eyes sparkled, a bright blue light shining in them. Awakening, she tapped into a new power. He remained calm. "You think awakening will change anything?" Tessiana replied, "You." Get ready, she said, tightening her grip on the sword and charging straight at Shik Muan. In the distance, a voice rang out, "Rom Rom!" It was the princess and her guard watching the tense battle. The princess exclaimed, "Look, Tessie has awakened, so cool, really cool." The guard, sweating, adjusted his glasses and gently reminded her, "Your Highness." "We should really head back," he said. The princess pouted, "Oh, I don't want to." He replied seriously, "There's no other choice. For Tiziana, the one who was supposed to be the bodyguard, is like that. We even snuck out. If anything happens to your highness, my head will roll," he said while pushing the princess along. She reluctantly let herself be pulled away, unable to resist. "So let's go back." Before anything happens, below the fight was still ongoing. The nearby citizens were in panic, not knowing what was happening. The sounds and scenes were chaotic. "Everyone please evacuate the area. What's going on? And what about the magic stone? Where is it? I definitely saw it fall around here." Among the crowd, Dan Marcel was holding a strange woman who was terrified. "Kayar, what?" Hound Lanasta shouted from the dense crowd. "Get out of the way!" He cursed under his breath. "Damn it, that bastard Shik. If he was going to fight, he should have given me the magic stone first. Where the hell did it fall?" Behind him, a mysterious figure appeared. The figure kept staring intently at Dan Marcel and the woman beside him. It was rude in his awakened form as Blow. He thought, now everyone is worried about the magic stone in this chaotic situation. It's the best opportunity. How to expose the symbol on his leg without raising suspicion. He sighed in frustration. Is it really just a matter of pulling down his pants? No, think there must be another way. He startled himself. Why am I even thinking about this? What a damn mess. Suddenly, a voice shouted, catching his attention. "Where is the magic stone? Who took it?" It was the voice of the blue-haired man. Rude stepped forward to initiate conversation. "Sorry." He whispered in his ear. "I can see clearly that guy in the purple shirt is hiding it." The man questioned back, "What that guy laughing over there?" He pointed at Dan Marcel from afar. "Yes," you replied. "I'm sure I saw him hiding it in his pants." Then the angry man rushed forward, grabbing Marcel's shirt, questioning, "Hey, did you steal the gemstone?" He was stunned. "What?" The people around him were also buzzing, discussing the gemstone. Did that guy really steal the gemstone? Get him! Rude stood at a distance, shocked. It really works. A sword grazed the green-haired man's hand, causing him to bleed. Marcel angrily cursed, "Damn it. How could you guess that?" Rude, hearing this, was in disbelief, thinking to himself, "What? He really did take the gemstone." Marcel gritted his teeth. "Damn it, I almost got away." The people around shouted, "There he is." Marcel yelled, "Now it's in my hands. There's no way I'm giving it up." He placed his hand on his chest. A mysterious purple energy surged out, introducing himself. "My name is Cloak." Awakening, the purple power grew stronger, forming a protective whirlwind around him. "Listen up, you scum!" Marcel's fierce and dangerous face terrified everyone. He continued, "The gemstone is in my possession now, so anyone who dares to target it will die." With that, he launched an attack on those standing there. Suddenly, a man in a black cloak rushed in, blocking Marcel's power. The guy said, "Not so fast." He held a strange black object in his hand, and Marcel watched his every move with confusion. A black smoke enveloped him, making his eyes sting as he quickly covered his face with his hand. The sword fell to the ground. The guy aimed the sword straight at Marcel. "I don't think so." "You can't fight me." It was Rude deciding to confront Marcel. At this moment, Shik Muan revealed a stunned expression. Suddenly, something caught his attention, and he turned to look in that direction. Tiziana angrily rushed over. While he was still calmly taking steps, she flew towards him, looking like an intense battle was about to unfold. On Marcel's side, he had been knocked down. The people around were discussing what that black magic could it be. Lanost was shocked. "Black? A black sorcerer." Marcel stood up still, stubbornly arguing, "I will never give up the gemstone, it's mine." He gently asked back, "The gemstone is yours, you just stole it, and anyway, what I'm after isn't the gemstone, but..." Suddenly, a beam of red light appeared behind him. Rude turned around, unable to believe his eyes. The red vortex erupted with an incredibly terrifying power. Without hesitation, you threw the sword towards that direction. You looked up in astonishment. Sensing danger, Rude quickly dodged to the side. But at that moment, something seemed to leave Rude in shock. It was a hand gripping your cloak. It was none other than Shik Muan who smiled at you. Their eyes met, and he softly called your name, Blackie. Rude recognized a familiar face and thought, Shik Muan. The power of Shik Muan was so immense that it cracked the earth and rocks. The terrified villagers ran in all directions, their screams echoing. On the other side, after Shik Muan vanished, Tiziana sat amidst the rubble. She was met with the surprised and confused gazes of the distant nobles. Tiziana felt disappointed, lamenting her pain. "I've even been stripped of my sword!" she shouted angrily, slamming her fist into the ground, creating a large crater. Tiziana's gaze hardened. Next time, I won't lose. Over there, Marcel was shocked by one thing and then astonished by another. He tried to escape the chaos, greedily holding onto the precious magical stone. It's mine. But the villagers wouldn't let him go. They chased after him. Stop, he's fleeing with the magic stone. He harnessed the power of the magical stone, swinging his hand lightly, creating enough force to knock down the crowd, sneering, "You pathetic little fish." He chuckled softly as he turned around. The immense power caused those caught in it to cry out in pain. He looked on with satisfaction, thinking the weak should know their place when a voice called out his name, Mage Cloak. Marcel jumped. A girl appeared, fists clenched, saying, "Do you really think there are only weaker mages here?" A powerful punch accompanied by great magic struck directly at Marcel, who struggled to brace himself against this overwhelming force. Others with the intent to seize the magical stone also appeared. Everyone's faces were serious, ready to fight. The atmosphere was incredibly tense, with Marcel surrounded by many. He gritted his teeth, sweating profusely. The Dark Mage, and Shik Muan were facing off. Lapis was taken aback by the news, the Dark Mage and Shik Muan. He looked at the scene before him, silently guessing the building is about to collapse. He turned around and shouted, "Father!" His words were cut off when Lapis saw Rune's indifferent expression. He asked, "Where is my father?" She calmly replied, "The king has already left." Hearing this, he thought, I should too. Leaving now would be safer, but I want to see a battle between powerful mages. Ren was stunned, holding his head, silently screaming, "How did it end up like this?" Then she narrowed her eyes, thinking it over. It really is Shik Muan. No, his appearance was unexpected, not to mention, this was supposed to be a low-risk mission, so I didn't even bring any mana stones to replenish my mana. The longer this drags on, the worse it is for Blow. What are you planning to do, Blow? On Rude's side, both of them silently stared at each other, the killing intent enveloping the scene. Rude spoke first. "I have no intention of fighting you." Shik Muan smirked and asked back, "Really?" You replied, "That's right. I wasn't aiming for the mana stone from the start. Wasn't your mission to protect the mana stone until the auction ends, based on what your teammate said earlier?" Lenost stood still, observing her face, still holding the surprise from the beginning to the end. Rude said seriously, "So it's best if we just pretend we don't see each other, that thing on your head. Take off that stupid-looking magic ring." Shik Muan calmly replied, "I don't want to." His words left you speechless. He continued, "Whether your target is the mana stone or not, I don't care. I've been looking for you since that day you hid away in Opian as if you were a treasure, and because of that, I've investigated every event related to you, every mission you could take. But I couldn't find you anywhere." Rude thought that's because I was busy signing autographs and pulling people's pants down. Shik Muan continued, "My legs are ready to fight, and now you're standing right in front of me." He flew towards Rude, hand outstretched, ready to grab him. "You used your sword to block deflecting the fierce power." Shik Muan showed clear excitement, "So look back." Rude, slightly annoyed, listened seriously. The image of Rude's cold face from the past flashed before him. That day you stood tall, majestic. Along with the sword in hand and the black smoke enveloping the scene gave me goosebumps. Shik Muan created thousands of magic circles, the ground and rocks continuously cracked. "Before I kill you. The most pitiful are the innocent people," they screamed in fear. "It's about to collapse." One by one, they fled to save their lives. A hand clenched tightly, ready to strike. It was Lenost. With just one blow, she could hinder the power of those two. Lenost cursed silently. "That damn Shik, is he planning to destroy everything here? Talking so much he's too excited. The auction has already become chaotic. When I retrieve the mana stone, I will have a legitimate reason. Marcel is fighting alone against a crowd of people." He shouted, "What the hell are you planning to do?" One person shouted back, "Give us back the gemstone." He was stunned. "Wait, what's going on?" Those people didn't care about what he said. They were focused on where the gemstone was hidden. He leaped up with all his strength. "These bastards, seriously." Someone yelled, "His pants! His pants!" The man with green hair pointed at Marcel. "The gemstone is in his pants." He was taken aback. What nonsense are you talking about?" The people there were stunned, all of them locked onto their target, ready to charge at Marcel. He shouted, trying to explain, "No, that's not it, you damn idiots, don't come near me." In the thick fog, a figure stood still amidst the desolation. In that person's hand was a tattered cloak. Shik Muan stood frozen, staring at Rude's cloak in his hand. At the palace, a figure was standing there watching. The handsome young man drew the attention of many princesses. Rude raised his hand to signal for silence, whispering, "We need to get out of here, it's dangerous." The two princesses understood and shyly left without looking back while he remained there, continuing to observe. Rude thought, "Who's killing who? This is ridiculous. Why should I waste mana on a pointless fight?" Thinking back, since that day, I've been assigned all these bizarre tasks. Could it be because of this guy? People were starting to leave. This mission was considered a failure, but I at least need to confirm if he has that symbol or not. Shik Muan felt disappointed. If you don't want to fight, then I just need to make you fight. Thinking about it, there were too many distractions here. As he spoke, he glanced over at the people on the other side. If I clear away some of the trash around here, maybe you'll change your mind. Then Shik Muan unleashed a tremendous power. Everyone around was stunned, looking up at the sky. What the hell? What is that? What is that? A magical phenomenon appeared in the sky. Marcel saw it too. He was stunned. What now? He hurried to escape, but someone saw him and chased after him, not letting him go. Stay right there, he shouted. You crazy people, look up there. While running, he thought, don't they care at all if I keep running? Rude stood high, kicking down, creating a light magical force that knocked Marcel down. Rude frowned, commanding everyone to leave immediately. Those people realized he was the Dark Sorcerer. You keep talking. If you value your lives more than that magic stone, then get out of here now, because this place is going to collapse soon. Seeing Shik Muan turn to leave to continue his plan, Hound called out to him, Shik. Hound grabbed his shoulder and questioned, What are you doing? Don't you see there are still people here? Are you planning to kill everyone? But in response to that questioning, there was only silence from Shik Muan. Ren looked at the scene before her, thinking it's really chaotic. After pausing for a moment, she ran off to find Blow, needing his help. Where's Blow? I have to find him and get out of here with the teleportation scroll. Ren frowned, sensing something was off. Marcel fell to the ground, facing the serious figure of Rude. He looked fearful and questioned. As I thought, I know I can't trust the rumors spreading. I never imagined the Dark Sorcerer could be so greedy. Are you planning to take the magic stone for yourself after driving everyone else away? On the other side, Shik Muan waved his hand dismissively, indicating to play with him. Rude placed his hand on the ground to steady himself, causing the earth to crack. A space that Shik Muan had just waved his hand towards exploded, sending debris flying everywhere. Rude couldn't believe it, wondering, is that guy for real? Both he and Shik jumped into the air. Then the magic power of both vanished, leaving them both puzzled. They returned to their previous state. The two landed back on the ground together. Rude looked at his palm, questioning himself what just happened. My magic fusion just disappeared. Hound, frustrated, could only mutter 4 words, Shik, you bastard. Suddenly, a purple light made him stop and exclaim, huh. Purple magic circles appeared. They were everywhere, in every nook and cranny, making everyone even more confused. Hound questioned magic circles, why? Before he could finish his sentence, something emerged from the magic circle. It was demons. They were huge, with 4 eyes and sharp fangs roaring, causing everyone to panic and flee. They were demons. Rune called out, Lapis is still trying to catch her breath, young master. He stammered, where did that thing come from? Rune replied from the magic circle on the floor. Lapis said, I already know that. There are 2 people calling for help because they're about to be attacked by a demon. Save us. The prince told his guard, Rune, hand me the sword. Rune hesitated while using magic to grab the sword. Are you planning to fight? I won't stop you, but... Before he could finish, Lapis interrupted, right, I might not be strong enough, but a determined glint shone in the prince's eyes. He held the sword firmly, standing there helplessly, was no different from waiting for death. Just as the demon was about to reach the 2, he dashed out like a hero. Don't worry, I will. Before he could play the hero for even a few seconds, he was knocked away by the demon. His face was now as pale as a banana leaf, causing the guard to leap into the air, saving Lapis. Rune was supporting the dying prince while contemplating, so that's an ugly jellyfish. Looking back at the bizarre 4-eyed creature, she continued to ask, or a giant octopus. She summoned Rune's bow while wondering about that thing. What should we call it? Then she aimed her bow straight at the demon. On Rude's side, things weren't looking any better. Demons kept appearing continuously. Wherever Hound ran, demons showed up. He cursed, what the hell is this? Then he stopped, thinking of a possibility. No way could it be a summoning magic circle. Rude repeated, a summoning magic circle. Hound looked at him in shock, thinking to himself, a dark mage. Then he didn't quite confirm, but replied to the boy, oh, it seems like that's right. Rude asked, is there any mage capable of summoning demons? Hound replied, no. At least I've never heard of one, but... Hearing that answer, Rude fell into despair, wondering to himself, then why is this happening, summoning so many monsters right here? Suddenly, Ren ran over, shouting, Blow. He replied, it's you, Ren. Seeing Ren here, he immediately questioned, didn't you escape? Ren, looking worried, said, what are you talking about? I can't just leave alone like a coward. Hound silently assessed, she's his accomplice from Opian. Doesn't look like a mage at all. Hound walked over to Shik, warning him that a demon was behind him. Look out. Shik waved his hand, and that monster exploded. Debris flew into Hound's face. He was speechless and changed the subject. What about the magic stone? Shik casually said 3 words, it's gone. Hound panicked. What, where did you throw it? I swear you were holding it just now. Shik looked at his palm, pondering for a moment. Then he uttered 3 words, it disappeared. Ren handed the teleportation scroll to Blow and said, "Blow, take it. We need to use the scroll and get out of this crazy place right now." He agreed. Okay. But before he could finish, another voice interrupted him. "Are you planning to leave?" Shik quickly moved towards Rude. His steps grew faster. He used his magic, wanting to stab Rude right away, his words tinged with irritation. "Who said that?" Ren, seeing this, was at a loss for words and spoke up to pause the fight between the 2 men. "What are you doing? Can't you see our situation?" Then he turned to Hound and whispered to him from a few meters away, "Hey, stop your teammate or you'll be silenced too." Rude sensed it. The magic hadn't disappeared. He speculated, could it just be a temporary phenomenon? Then he spoke up. "Shik Muan, you felt it too right just a moment ago." He seemed to know what Rude was thinking and interrupted. "Are you talking about the disappearing magic? Yes, I don't think it's because of you or those monsters. Something feels very strange." Feeling there were still many monsters around, Rude suggested a truce. "Then this isn't the time for us to fight." But Shik still acted indifferent. "Strange or not, I don't care." Then he continued to amplify his magic. Suddenly, an explosion occurred between the 2. Ren was left speechless. It was Hound standing in front of Rude, surprising him. Shik Muan suddenly spoke up. "Stop it, Shik!" He stood in front, speaking sternly. "A stubborn person isn't interesting at all." Ren was confused, wondering what he was talking about. Shik Muan's voice continued steadily, and with all this noise, the mages from the tower would be here soon. He understood better than Ito that clashing with them wouldn't bring anything good, right? Rude's expression turned serious as he thought, did he just take that hit head-on with his body? With a determined look, Shik Muan said, "Then we should move. I won't spare anyone who gets in our way, not even you, old man." Rude wondered, is he crazy? A loud call rang out. "Blow!" Ren anxiously reminded him, like he said, if the mages from the tower come, things will get very troublesome, so we need to hurry. But before she could finish, the opponent cut her off. "Ren, behind you." Ren felt a wave of unease, but didn't understand what was happening and exclaimed, "Huh." Before she could grasp what was going on, she saw Lapis rushing towards her with a sword, shouting, "Huh!" A sharp sword pierced through a hard object as if it couldn't be penetrated. The monster was hurt by the sword and let out a terrifying scream. Lapis turned to ask, "Are you okay?" Ren was a bit stunned. Lapis, small and easily caught by the monster, made Ren sweat as she thought, "I should be the one asking if he's okay." Rune calmly asked, "Young master, do you need me to step in?" With her ignorance, Lapis shouted, "Are you still asking that?" Immediately, a powerful slash struck the monster. Lapis fell heavily to the ground. It was Rude who had acted. He asked, "Ren, are you okay?" Ren was taken aback, struggling to respond, yeah." Rude analyzed the monster, a creature without a core or intelligence. What on earth was it? Rune approached Lapis and asked, "Young master, are you all right?" At that moment, his gaze was completely fixed on Rude the Dark Sorcerer. He looked towards Hound Lanost, who was struggling with Shik Muan, and thought, and that guy is Shik Muan. Lapis involuntarily exclaimed, "Strong," and he pondered, "A sorcerer." Rude glanced worriedly to the side. The corpse remained motionless. He thought, "I still can't confirm," when a gruff voice called him Blow. Ren said, "Come on, forget that damn mission. I sensed something bad when I woke up this morning." She took out a teleportation scroll, thankful that she had brought it along. Rude remained calm, turning to her and saying, "As I predicted, Ren, you should leave first." Ren, unable to believe it, asked, "What are you really planning to undress him in this situation?" Lapis was confused. "Undress what?" Rune bluntly replied, "His pants." Rude was flustered. "No, not like that. There are still monsters around and so many people are watching." Ren reassured him, "Don't worry, the tower will handle that. It's their specialty, just forget about it." Rude was dissatisfied. You, Lapis, nervously spoke up. Ren suggested to them, "Although it sounds a bit grand to say this is to repay you for helping me earlier, do you want to join us to survive out of here? This teleportation scroll can take up to 4 people." Lapis clenched her fists, determined, together. Ren noticed they weren't answering immediately and quickly added, "Of course, if you don't want to—" Lapis awkwardly interrupted, "No, we would still be grateful if you could take us with you." Ren thought to himself, "We also have a teleportation scroll." At that moment, Hound Lanost suddenly felt his body reaching its limits, silently groaning, "My head." Dragging Shik Muan's heavy body, he sighed internally, just thinking about the report he had to write after this was already giving him a headache. Hound Lanost couldn't help but express, "Hey Shik, because of you I—" Still feeling fine, suddenly Hound Lanost's chin was forcefully bumped. Ren was now activating the teleportation scroll, stating, "Location where I want to go. Condition contact." Rude turned to remind Lapis, "Hold hands," and he quickly replied, "Oh, okay." However, a low voice suddenly came from behind, really so annoying. Shik Muan's eyes were bloodshot, surrounded by a murderous aura questioning, "Why did you run away? Where's that arrogant guy from earlier?" Lapis shivered in fear. A chill ran down his spine. He said to Rude, "The dark sorcerer over there looks really scary glaring at us." But Rude just reassured him, "Don't worry, he's just thinking about something." Rude quickly turned to Ren and whispered, "Don't disturb me, I need to focus." Shik Muan, filled with a deadly aura, spoke up, "You think I'll let you escape?" Hound Lenost stood beside, speechless and confused. "Shik you." Shik Muan opened his eyes and muttered under his breath, "Damn Blackie." Suddenly, a dangerous deep red hue surrounded them. Hound Lenost shouted in dismay, "Not again!" Lapis looked up at the deep red scene before him, momentarily stunned. "What is this?" Rude turned to Ren, almost pleading, "Ren." There was no time to waste, so she closed her eyes and concentrated. Ren spoke, "What I want." Then a beam of blue light appeared, and Ren shouted, "Move!" In the pitch-black night, a large fire erupted right in the center of the town. The surrounding trees and grass were blown away. A magic circle hovered in this person's hand. A moment later, he quickly retracted it. It turned out to be a mysterious wizard who muttered, "How interesting." Looking at the figure perched on a nearby branch, he said to himself, "Isn't that?" He saw a stone emitting a sparkling light. Now it lay in the hands of that person who spoke, Miss Krubimonter. Her amber eyes assessed him, "How intriguing." Lifting the stone in her hand, Krubimonter scoffed, "Making a fuss over something so trivial." At that moment, Krubimonter immediately crushed the stone. Fragments scattered on the ground, and Krubimonter disdainfully murmured, "Humans so mundane." That day, the sunlight was exceptionally beautiful. Looking at the reports submitted, the young man couldn't help but exclaim, "Buildings destroyed, magic stones vanished, and even a monster of unknown origin appeared." He laughed joyfully. What a commotion. Suddenly, the young man and Ren fell into silence. She asked irritably, "Are you still able to laugh right now?" The boy, avoiding her gaze, replied, "No, I meant—" Ren immediately pressed, "So you said we just needed to strip him, but who knew we'd get caught up in this mess? It's actually kind of funny when I think about it." The young man sighed. "Well, at least you both came back safely." Ren remained very angry, just shrugged and replied, "Yeah." The young man expressed, "Really, I had no idea this would happen." He held his head in frustration. "If I had known Shik Muan would be there, I wouldn't have sent you." Ren felt utterly confused, wondering why that guy was so fixated on Blow. It didn't seem like he just wanted to fight. Then the young man opened his eyes, deep in thought. Then again, both father and son are a bit crazy. How could I know what they're thinking? Ren is deep in thought, father and son. The young man casually reassures he'll lose interest soon enough, so for now, let's just avoid trouble. No matter how unfair it seems, just let it be. Ren understands people just by listening, so that's why you've been giving him all those weird tasks lately. The young man justifies, well, part of it is to let him rest a bit. The young man looks seriously into the documents, analyzing them, but aside from that, I still feel something's off. I suspected something was wrong the moment I heard about a high-level magic stone appearing at a public auction, but an unknown monster was summoned in droves, and then the magic suddenly vanished. This can't be overlooked. Ren puts his hands on his hips, speculating. It seems both the association and the magic tower will be busy. The young man replies, probably. He puts down the report and raises a question. But where did Rude disappear to after throwing me this half-baked report? At this moment, Rude is sitting and reading a book. He rests his chin on his hand, and as expected, there's no information about monster summoning in the files. It must be something that can't be found in regular documents. Just then, Ben brings over the drinks. "Here's what you ordered, sir." The boy cheerfully greets, "It's been a while, Rude." Rude exclaims, Ben. Ben doesn't forget to ask, "Haven't seen you around lately. You must be busy studying, right?" "Why do you have so many books?" he also expresses to Rude. "I'm curious about some things." Looking into the book filled with text, Ben exclaims in amazement, "It's too complicated. How can you read this stuff? I didn't expect you to be so smart." Rude ruffles the boy's hair and asks just now, realizing it. Ben replies bravely, "My sister always says that one must know how to be humble." Looking around, Rude says, "It seems the place is crowded today. You must be busy." Ben replies, "Not really. Everyone is mostly just chatting." Then the boy asks, "You've heard about the Dark Mage's performance, right?" Upon hearing this, Rude falls into an awkward self-reflection performance. Ben recounts the details. There was an extremely expensive magic stone appearing in Ravi, but some wicked mages tried to steal it. However, the Dark Mage suddenly appeared, chased off the bad guys, and saved everyone. Rude feels like he's going to be depressed. He rummages through his memories. Did I do that? I remember everything being destroyed by the explosion. Meanwhile, Ben is still going on and on. That was so cool. The boy smiles happily. I hope my sister can become a powerful mage like the Dark Mage. At this moment, Rude notices you have a sister. Ben smiles and replies, yeah. The boy proudly boasts my sister just got accepted into Helios. Wait, I think I got the name wrong, Rude corrects him. Helios, you mean that school? Ben says it's not just a simple environment. Helios is a special place reserved for extraordinary people. The boy looks a bit sad, even though I'm also sad about having to be apart from her. There's no other way. But when I miss her, I just need to write a letter. My mom says not to send too many letters so I don't distract her from studying, but I accidentally wrote 10 letters already. Rude listens intently to the boy, feeling somewhat at ease. Ben's voice continues steadily. When I told Royne, the neighbor next door, he said, suddenly there's a loud call, Ben. At this moment, the boy hurriedly moves before leaving. He says, I have to go now. Study hard. Okay, Rude replies, sure. Ben runs off and Rude is still sitting there. He falls into deep thought. His eyes close. Trying to concentrate. You could hear the sounds of debate in the tavern. I heard that Shik Muan won, and it was the Dark Mage who saved them. They say the explosion was actually orchestrated by the secret tower, and the magic stone was taken by someone named Cloak. Have you heard they say the Dark Mage is actually a girl? Rude listened, feeling dizzy. The rumors were flying everywhere. In the end, only one person had to bear all the responsibility, even though he deserved it. Rude thought about the news in the papers, but strangely, not a single line mentioned the monsters. It seemed the tower was involved in this too. Rude silently acknowledged that after all, the appearance of a monster right in the city protected by the tower's barrier was alarming. If it wasn't a system error, then something must have happened to the tower's barrier. He looked at the paper in his hand and lightly dismissed it. No, if that were the case, it couldn't be this quiet. Anyway, I recorded the magic circle I saw, but would it even be useful? Rude paused for a moment, telling himself to go meet the master first. Today, the sky is incredibly beautiful. Ethereal sounds continued to resonate. Lisbon, dressed warmly, stood in the glaring sunlight. He didn't take long to think and directly expressed it seems something is happening ahead, but it's not something I need to worry about, I understand. Sitting on horseback, Lisbon asked, Lady Daner, are you really going to be okay? The person in the carriage replied, I told you I'm fine, how many more times are you going to ask? Lisbon persisted. But, she reassured him, don't worry about those trivial matters. Daner Ardian instructed, listen carefully, I just need to help that child even just a little. I will do anything within my power. Rude was leisurely strolling down the road. As he walked, his eyes were glued to the paper in his hand, thinking that staring at it wouldn't yield any answers. Oh well. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, taking the paper from his hand. The paper fell to the ground, and Rude exclaimed inwardly, no! He ran to pick it up, but another gust of wind quickly swept it away. Rude could only helplessly watch his precious paper float high above, panicking, no. Rude gave up and just followed the paper, wondering where it would fly off to next. At the same time, an act of injustice was unfolding. A young man shouted nervously, give it back. However, he couldn't sway the intentions of the cruel people in front of him. The leader challenged, what if I don't want to? I'm just picking up a discarded bag. The young man tried to explain, I've said it so many times, I just put it down for a moment. I don't want to make a big deal out of this, please just give it back. In the end, he couldn't get his belongings back and was grabbed by the collar. The silver-haired man, irritated, taunted, look, if you kneel and beg, I might reconsider, but you dare to shout at me. Think carefully. The silver-haired man threatened, the guards will arrive first or will you die first? Just as he finished speaking, Rude's paper smacked right into his face. Instantly, the silver-haired man threw the paper away and yelled, what the hell is this? He turned back to the young man and said, anyway, this bag is mine now, so... A naive voice chimed in, it's all dirty now. Rude picked up his precious paper, brushing off the dirt. The silver-haired guy seemed annoyed when someone pushed him aside. Who the hell is that kid? The guy's underlings were panicking the bag. Their loot had been taken by Rude without anyone noticing. He returned the item to the young man, saying, here you go. The young man accepted the bag, not forgetting to say thank you. The thugs were completely taken aback, wondering how he managed to snatch the bag back. They even demanded their rights, insisting he return it immediately. Rude mimicked them, replying, I just picked it up. He told the young man, you should leave. When they saw him running away, they shouted loudly, what, hey, stop! The silver-haired guy spoke up, let him go. The guy, filled with hostility, declared, because this brat dared to mess up my plans. A few of the underlings gathered behind him, and he began to assert his authority, saying, I need to teach him a lesson first. Block all the exits. Rude wasn't scared at all. He thought to himself, is he an enhancement mage? He looks like just a low-level mage. The silver-haired guy appeared dangerous, cracking his knuckles and saying, hey, kid, it seems you still don't understand how this world works. Let me teach you a valuable lesson. Rude remained quite calm, weighing his options. I don't want to get into unnecessary trouble or... A brief thought jumped into his mind. Just run. When they saw him take off, they shouted, "Hey, you little brat!" Upon witnessing Rude's agility, they all gaped in astonishment. Rude was incredibly nimble, like a little bird soaring through the air. He easily jumped onto the roof of a tall building, just as Daner Ardian's carriage was passing by. Lisbon, escorting the carriage, immediately took notice, and at that moment, Rude had already jumped down. Daner Ardian, sitting inside the carriage, suddenly felt a strong impact on the roof. She immediately opened her eyes, alert. Outside, the lady's guards stared in shock, looking up. They turned their eyes toward the culprit of this commotion. On the roof of the carriage, Rude stood casually upright, as if he suddenly realized the strange situation. He awkwardly complimented, "This carriage is quite sturdy." The surroundings fell silent with no one responding. Seeing this, Rude leaped off the roof of the carriage. He quickly ran away from the scene. This act of fleeing left everyone with a huge question mark on their faces. Fran, one of the guards following, finally shouted, "What? Who is that kid, Sir Lisbon?" His voice grew more panicked as he saw Lisbon rushing forward. "Stop!" The warning shout rang out, accompanied by a sharp blade pressed against Rude's neck. He tilted his head back, his cold gaze silently lamenting, "He's too fast." At this moment, Lisbon, looking serious, asked, "Do you know whose carriage you just stepped on?" Rude fell silent for a moment before replying, "I don't know, but I'm sorry," he said. And as soon as he finished, he bowed sincerely, which surprised Lisbon a bit. Taking advantage of his confusion, Rude quickly added, "I had no idea there was a noble in the carriage. No matter the reason, I shouldn't have acted that way. I'm truly sorry for startling everyone." He looked up at Lisbon with puppy dog eyes, pleading, "I'll be more careful from now on, so please forgive me this time." Lisbon, still in shock, stammered, Okay. Having received mercy, Rude dashed off, but not before leaving a parting remark. "Thank you, sir. Now if you'll excuse me." At that moment, Fran rushed over, patting Lisbon on the shoulder and laughing heartily. He covered one eye with his hand, teasingly saying, "He really did apologize sincerely, but why did you swing your sword at a kid?" His question made Lisbon self-deprecatingly wonder, a kid. Despite falling from such a height, he landed perfectly. "You can't treat him like an ordinary child," Lisbon thought, his gaze sharpening. Fran, however, was much more carefree. "Hey, didn't you defeat a few mid-level demons at his age, Lisbon? Do you have any idea how amazed I was? I think that kid is quite talented with a promising future. What do you think about me training another one myself?" But in response to his words, all he got was a deadly glare from Lisbon. So Fran quickly said, "All right, I'll keep my mouth shut." Just then, the noble woman in the carriage stepped down and remarked, "Interesting." Upon seeing her, the guards called out in unison, "Lady Daner," and the elegant woman remarked, "That kid seems strong and intelligent." Fran was overjoyed to hear her say what he thought, "Could you allow me to bring him back here to recruit him for our team?" But before he could finish, Lisbon grabbed him by the neck, warning him to stop, while Lady Daner could only smile brightly in response. After reprimanding his colleague, Lisbon asked, "Lady Daner, I hope you weren't injured during the earlier collision." She replied, "No, I'm fine. This carriage is quite sturdy. You reacted quickly. But..." She gently touched the brim of her hat, looking up at the sky. "We're almost there now, and the weather is quite nice today. I'd like to walk a bit. I'd like to walk a..." Lisbon immediately agreed, "As you wish, Lady Daner." The three of them decided to take a stroll. Meanwhile, Rude was watching them from a distance, just as I expected. Leaning against the wall, he thought to himself, "She's a noble woman, and that guy is quite powerful too, but this isn't a place for nobles. Anyway, I'm lucky he let me go so easily." Thinking that he couldn't help but sigh in relief, Rude turned away, muttering to himself, "I've been really unlucky lately. Oh well, I probably won't see them again." Of course life isn't a dream, and Lady Daner smiled gently. Behind her were two bodyguards, Lisbon and Fran. Facing them were Rude and the master of the Opium Association, sitting together at the same table in perfect harmony. Rude nervously asked, "Master, why am I here? May I leave?" The master cheerfully replied, No, the client wants to request something. You should stay and listen with me." Daner suddenly spoke up, "That kid." The master responded with flattery, "Yes, indeed. Although he looks small and ordinary, he's one of Opium's outstanding talents." Rude, sitting beside him, couldn't help but think, "What this guy?" Daner commented, looking very young. "If he were from Opium, he would definitely be an official mage, right?" The master of the association nodded, of course, even though he was only a level 7 mage. But among his peers, he was the best. Seeing the smug look on his face, Rude couldn't help but wonder to himself, what the hell, level 7? Lady Daner picked up her teacup and added a few more words. "It seems there are quite a few hidden talents in Opium." Recently, rumors have been spreading on the streets about the dark mage of Opian. I've heard he's an extraordinary mage, and this incident has really caused quite a stir. So I want to meet this rumored person. At least once she expressed her desire straightforwardly, while Fran stood behind her with puppy dog eyes. The young man on the other side sighed. What a pity the dark mage is out on a mission right now. Hearing this disappointment was clearly visible on Fran's face, while Lady Daner maintained her calm demeanor. Well, if that's the case, then I guess there's nothing we can do. She continued, it seems I've digressed. She suddenly turned her words towards Rude. See you later, kid, making him feel a bit uneasy. The master of Opian couldn't help but be curious upon hearing this. To clarify, Lady Daner smiled and introduced herself. Oh, by the way, you've never seen me. The owner of the carriage you fell from is me. These words made the dark-haired young man restless, patting Rude on the shoulder and asking again. The carriage fell down while you avoided with a few words personal reasons. After pondering for the moment, Daner concluded this must be fate. The master of Opian, she set her teacup down. If it's that kid, then I can trust him. This made him breathe a sigh of relief. Thank you for saying that, Duchess Artian. Rude mentally repeated in shock. Duchess. I thought she was a noble woman, but it turns out she really is a duchess. Only then did Daner speak up, so shall we get to the main point? Since I've discussed this matter with the master of Opian, I'm sure you've guessed part of the reason I'm here in person is because my second child, who is currently at Helios, the Duchess's words made them envision the image of a young man at the prestigious magic school. The room fell eerily silent after her words. The owner of Opian cautiously probed. So what the Duchess means is the second Prince. Daner replied firmly, that's right. Her voice carried a sharpness. Simply put, my second son is struggling to adapt to life at school. She softly called for her guard Fran, who respectfully bowed and responded to Daner, yes. The guard placed a thick stack of documents on the table, and Daner explained, this is the information about Helios, along with a list of students, and this is the current situation report. Rude frowned, thinking to himself, Helios, I've heard that name countless times today. Daner continued with concern. It's only been a month since he enrolled, and I still don't know what has happened during that time, but right now my son, she said with a heavy heart, is being called a monster. The owner of Opian exclaimed in shock, what, who dares to call the second Prince of Artian that? Daner seemed to have guessed the other person's expression and replied, it's not just my son who has to endure this. As you all know, once you step into Helios, outsiders cannot interfere with matters within the school, and I cannot easily take him out of there. Daner anxiously rubbed her ears together. He is a fragile child, vulnerable and lonely. Daner painfully recalled her little son's past. From a young age, he always lived in the shadow of his brothers. The more she spoke, the more sorrowful she became. Never receiving the love or care he deserved, even I couldn't provide him with the support he needed. Looking back now, Daner's voice trembled. He has become so fragile that he cannot express the pain he is enduring. She slowly continued, I just don't want him to suffer anymore. Daner resolutely stated, more than anything, I cannot accept my son being treated like this there. I won't allow this to continue. Lisbon stood solemnly behind Daner, staring intently at the opposite side. Rude squinted in confusion at Lisbon. Daner looked up and said, my request is very simple. She continued seriously. Please help my son have a peaceful school life there where he is suffering. Now, it's not just a request, a mission. It's a plea from a mother who cares deeply for her child, a sacred maternal love. Please protect him. A moment later, as Duchess Daner and her guard left, Rude angrily crossed his arms and growled, now explain this to me. The owner of Opian feigned innocence. Huh. Rude was furious, shouting, huh, what? Don't tell me you don't understand clearly. I'm asking about this ridiculous situation we're in. The owner of Opian appeared innocent, everyone unrelated to him smiling brightly as he replied to Rude, just as you heard the Duchess made a request, and his emotions unchanged, he continued, the one to carry it out is you. Rude's face darkened, furious with the other's impulsiveness. No way, you must be joking. Rude was so angry he gritted his teeth. Wait, let's set that request aside, but I can't believe you introduced me in this appearance and about the level 7 mage too. The owner of Opian replied nonchalantly, so should I calmly say that he's actually a dark mage right in front of them? He countered Rude's words, just saying you're an official mage is shocking enough with that appearance. Rude was so frustrated he had to clench his fists. Nails digging into his flesh, he helplessly thought, is he serious? He could have just not introduced me from the start. The owner of Opian laughed heartily. There's nothing to worry about. He reassured the one boiling with anger over there. Even though Helios is the most prestigious magic school, the students there are still just those who haven't fully awakened, mere interns. Rude still couldn't shake off the discomfort. I never agreed to this. Rude questioned, didn't you receive a report from Ren about the failed mission? We need to investigate what really happened there. That's why the owner of Opian nearly shouted. Rude. He handed a strange document to him. Don't worry about that anymore. I'll take care of it and you focus on this task. Rude took it with a puzzled expression. He opened it to find it was his own admission letter. The detailed contents stated name Rude Krishi, age 15. You have passed the basic test of Helios Magic School and meet the standards. Therefore, we inform you that you have been accepted into Helios Magic School. Rude fell silent after reading it. You're emphasizing every word. Are you kidding me? Even the Master of Opium must be confused by Rude's reaction. He quickly spoke up. Let me explain first, as Rude slammed the acceptance letter against the Master's chest. Rude glared at him coldly, saying, "This is the end of our relationship?" The Master of Opium looked stunned. Huh. As soon as he finished speaking, Rude swiftly slung his brown bag over his shoulder and started to leave, saying, "Master, thank you for everything. I had a great time, but from now on I'm leaving Opium." The Master of Opium shouted, "What?" He quickly yanked Rude's bag back, raising his voice. "No, you can't do this to me. I've invested so much in you, raised you, cared for you. How could you betray me like this?" Rude angrily replied, "That's rich coming from you. That's exactly what I wanted to say to you. How can you decide everything without even asking for my opinion?" The Master of Opium quietly responded, "That's because I knew you would never agree." Rude retorted, frustrated, "Of course not. Why would I go to school? What am I supposed to learn there?" The Master of Opium showed signs of fatigue. "I've already told you this is a requirement." Rude remained resolute in his choice. "No, I said I won't be happy." Now the Master of Opium looked powerless, gripping Rude's hand. "Don't you understand?" The Master of Opium placed Rude's small hand on his chest, cradling his head in a pitiful manner. "My heart is as vast as the ocean, and all I want is to send you to school no matter what." Rude looked at the Master of Opium in confusion, his thoughts filled with skepticism. "What's wrong with him? I can't figure it out." A feminine voice came from the door. "Really, what are you two doing?" The Master of Rude scratched his head tiredly. "Ren, at least knock before coming in. I'm discussing something very important here." Rude was stunned by the other person's words, silently cursing in his head, "Important, my foot." Ren, hands on her hips, angrily replied, "You're the one who didn't hear me. I'm sure I knocked." Ren was the last thread of reason in the group, as the other two were acting childish. She softened her tone and advised, "Anyway, both of you sit down right now. Don't embarrass the whole neighborhood." A few minutes later, once they were settled in their seats, Rude's voice echoed throughout the room. "So it turns out," he pondered, "Ren knows about this too." Ren became flustered, quickly comforting him. "Rude, you don't need to be too tense. Just think of it as going out to play a bit. The students there will just look like kids to you anyway, plus the task the Duchess assigned isn't that hard." Ren gradually calmed down. "So consider this an opportunity to relax a little, enjoy school life, and who knows, you might even make friends your age." The Master of Opium sitting beside her nodded in agreement after hearing Ren. Right. Ren probed. "So there's really nothing to lose, right?" Rude said. "Nothing, just silently looked down at the ground." Rude suddenly spoke up. "I don't need friends." The Master of Opium finally spoke up to persuade him. "All right, if you really don't want to do it, then so be it. Even though the Imperial Duchess personally came to Opium to entrust us with a special task, it's fine to refuse. Now it's just..." He hesitated for a moment, then feigned a frightened expression. "I might lose my head over this. Should I write a will first?" Rude sat on the nearby sofa, stunned. He didn't know where he got a handkerchief from, pathetically wiping his tears. "Still, it's okay if it makes me feel better." Ren quickly gave him a light smack on the head, preventing him from saying anything that would sound ridiculous to others. "Stop talking nonsense." Ren looked at him with sincere eyes. "Rude, the fact that the Master decided without consulting you is his fault. Moreover, you will enroll through the official route and the time may be extended, so this decision still has to come from you." Ren asked Rude, "What do you want to do?" He didn't answer, just silently gazed at the two of them. The atmosphere fell silent once again, 6 eyes locked on each other. Rude was the one to break the silence. "So the second son of the Duchess, I just need to help him right." Ren and the person beside her looked bewildered. After listening to every word Rude said, he happily jumped up and replied, "Of course it's not hard at all." Ren cheered. "You're really the brightest star of Opium. You're amazing." Rude frowned as he watched the two of them happily chattering away. "The academy uniforms are ready, right? Shouldn't we pack our bags first? I've got everything prepared." Suddenly, Rude felt regret about his decision and thought to himself, "Should I just leave?" The Master of Opium placed the documents that Daner had given him on the table and said, "Rude, even though I tell you that you are a level 7 wizard with a Duchess, the Academy still doesn't know that you are an officially awakened wizard." Rude took the documents and replied, "Then I can't be a blowright?" He answered, "That's true." The Master of Opium chattered next to Rude. But don't worry, nothing dangerous will happen. Just be careful in front of the professors, as they are also officially awakened wizards. Rude flipped through the documents, silently evaluating. There are so many documents. The Master of Opium smiled gently. So this mission is both a vacation for the Dark Wizard and your first official task. Rude's eyes widened as he heard him say, "It's for Rude Krishy." Rude forced himself not to pay attention to him and looked at the documents, still unable to help but think, he really knows how to talk. Ren excitedly discussed with him, "Is the food good there? We need to pack our clothes neatly by type 2. Rude read the documents while wondering, "But how should I help that kid? Should I just punch those bullies?" Rude was surprised to look at the photo of the boy with white hair, his eyes glinting with ferocity. Rude fell silent. What a violent impression, don't tell me. He placed the photo down under the table. Rude spoke up. "Is this the guy who's bullying the second prince of the Duchess?" The atmosphere suddenly became a bit awkward. The Master of Opium shook his head. No. His expression became difficult to read. It's not him he is. The Master of Opium explained to Rude, "Leducis Dian Artian, the one who is being called a monster, is the second prince of Artian." The next day, as the evening sun set over the academy grounds, a pale yellow hue enveloped both the people and the scenery here. Ben unexpectedly asked his sister in front of him what the letter can't be sent. The girl said seriously, "The Helios Academy strictly manages goods from outside. Without a verification certificate, we can't receive it." Upon hearing this, Ben looked even more dejected. "But it's just a letter." The girl softly replied, "I'm really sorry." After a while, Ben perked up a bit and asked, "So where can I get that verification certificate?" The girl quickly answered, "If your sister is a student, ask your parents and come back." Ben replied awkwardly, "I can't. My mom won't let me send letters. Can I send it?" The boy's voice became earnest. "Please, I just want to send a letter to my sister." The girl smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry, but I can't." Suddenly, a pair of hands holding a piece of paper appeared in front of her. Rude appeared behind Ben, placing a hand on the boy's head. "Here I have the verification certificate." Ben joyfully exclaimed. Rude said to the girl in front of him, "Please help me send this stuff and the letter." The girl asked back, "Really?" Rude called out the boy's name, "Ben." He looked down at Ben with a gentle gaze. "Your letter, it seems I can help you send it." The next day, when dawn broke, the sun reached its peak and the weather was clear. Right inside Helios Academy, students wandered along the paths, some leisurely, while others hurried because class had started. Inside a classroom somewhere, whispers and chatter filled the air. "Have you heard?" A boy said to the girl next to him, "He's coming today." They were gossiping. You mean the one who scored a perfect score on the entrance exam? Yeah, even the professors were surprised. But why is he just enrolling now? Who knows? I heard he has a chronic illness. One person spoke up. We need to get to know him. Hearing that the person opposite scoffed, making friends won't help him study better. You know, a girl with platinum hair thought to herself, "It's so noisy." Another student asked, "What's our next class?" A feminine voice of a student rang out, sounding a bit helpless. "Hey, Varus is sleeping again. He told me to wake him up." The girl with dark skin and smooth black hair held something that looked valuable, shining brightly, confidently, showing it off to her friends. "Look at this. I bought it when I was allowed to go out." Her friends nodded in admiration. "It's beautiful, right?" Suddenly, the classroom fell silent as a familiar figure walked in. The students who were chatting excitedly also went quiet. Everyone's expression darkened as they turned their gaze to one side. That person walked over and gently pulled out a chair. Then he quietly sat down while all eyes followed his every move. Every student in the class stared at that figure. A boy cried out in fear, "Monster." The boy remained silent, showing no expression, his long hair covering half of his face. The girl with white hair thought to herself, "Finally, it's quiet now." The boy who had just been called a monster sat there looking lonely and pitiful. Flashback to a few days ago in Opium inside the meeting room, Rude looked at the documents in surprise. He voiced his confusion. A perfect score on the entrance exam and a chronic illness. The owner of Opium immediately felt uneasy. The thing is, Rude stood up abruptly, saying, "No, I've never taken the entrance exam, so how could I get a perfect score? And what's this rumor about a chronic illness?" The owner of Opium replied with a puzzled expression, "You know my abilities, somehow everything turned out this way." He tried to explain to the person opposite Rude, "As you know, it's been over a month since the new students enrolled at Helios. Even your enrollment papers were issued a month ago. Normally, you should have enrolled back then." His voice became stammered, but the situation wasn't the best at that time, to be honest. "All these notifications came from the school urging me to get you enrolled." Rude wondered in his mind how long had he been planning to send me to school. The owner of Opion continued, anyway, I need a reason to delay, and it has to be a reason that Helios would strictly accept as a result. He excitedly said a weak but handsome genius. He innocently asked, so isn't that interesting? Rude pondered and spoke up right at that moment. He shouted at him, are you kidding me? Back to reality. Rude heard a call student Krishy, pulling him back after drifting in thought for too long. Professor Hall looked at Rude curiously. What are you thinking so deeply about classes about to start? Come on, Rude replied. Oh, right, he silently cursed that damn owner of Opion. Rude watched Professor Hall's back, thinking with this grand background, how am I supposed to complete my mission if the enrollment papers were issued a month ago? That means the application was sent off long before that. Rude gently glanced at the young leaves dancing in the breeze. He felt helpless, thinking that no matter what this task was, he had intended to send himself to school a long time ago. He scratched his head in frustration, but why? What benefit did he gain by coming here? He looked up at the sky, never mind. Rude followed Professor Hall up the stairs into the school Helios, truly deserving of its reputation as a magic academy. He could feel the magical flow spreading everywhere. Rude reassured himself. All right, now that I'm here, I just need to quickly complete the task and go back. There's nothing to be tense about. Professor Hall turned to Rude and said there are students from many different backgrounds and ages here. If it were you, you definitely wouldn't have any trouble fitting in. Status or age doesn't matter here. Rude curiously asked then, what is the most important thing? Professor Hall's face looked like he was about to kill someone as he replied sharply, the most important thing is ability. He turned and continued walking, speaking as he went. Usually new students who set foot here for the first time are filled with joy, imagining themselves becoming great wizards in the future. Professor Hall emphasized as if they had truly become wizards. His voice gradually changed, but it's all just an illusion. Just because you step into Helios doesn't mean you will become a true wizard. Professor Hall raised his voice. In reality, most students cannot surpass their own limits and ultimately sink into despair. Professor Hall smirked and asked Rude, and what about you? He looked directly at Rude, the first person to achieve a perfect score on the entrance exam, Rude Krishy. Rude remained silent for a moment before his deep voice rang out, if I've tried and still failed. He continued, then the only option left is to give up receiving Rude's answer. Professor Hall was taken aback. He burst out laughing, his eyes squinting with joy. Professor Hall praised him. You really are quite humorous. Rude was stunned, thinking that achieving a perfect score on the entrance exam was harder than he thought. The first one, Professor Hall said, Helios always welcomes those with talent like you. Professor Hall was joyfully smiling. Even though you arrived a bit later than the other students, Rude Krishy, I welcome you to Helios. Rude followed Professor Hall into the classroom, standing on the podium, looking down, surveying the entire room. The Special Magic Academy Helios, a place that nurtures those who have the talent to sense and control magic, with the goal of training them to become true wizards bearing the emblem. Based on ability, students are divided into levels: the advanced class, here is the intermediate class Claude, and the beginner class Eden. New students will start from the beginner class Eden. Through the promotion exam held every year, they can advance to the next class. Rude thought to himself, at least that's what I've heard. Professor Hall loudly introduced him to all the students in the class. Everyone, this is Rude Krishy. He joined the class a bit late due to health issues. He gently reminded, don't bully him, okay? Let's be friends. The classmates chimed in playfully, we won't do anything to him, we promise. Rude remained silent. Professor Hall said to Rude, so Krishy, why don't you introduce yourself? He stepped forward. Rude coldly replied, nice to meet everyone. Just that one sentence and nothing more. The classmates felt let down. Is that it? Isn't that a bit short? He looks even younger than me. Rude squinted, he found it. He stood at the podium staring at a spot, the second son of Duke Ardian, the one called a monster and the one being bullied. The student with white hair covering half his face caught Rude's eye, Leducis Dian Artian. Meanwhile, that other student sat there blankly, not even bothering to glance at Rude. Rude wondered, but why is he sitting all alone over there? Professor Hall instructed, Krishy, you can sit over there. Rude replied, yes, sir. Rude thought doubtfully, he doesn't look weak or fragile. Is he really hurt by being called a monster? But why do they call him that in the first place? Rude walked down to his seat right behind the blue-haired boy. I should find out what's going on first and take some time to observe him. Just as Rude sat down, he heard the blue-haired boy whisper, hi. The blue-haired boy turned down, covering his mouth, and said, nice to meet you, talented guy. Rude replied, confused, huh? The blue-haired boy continued, I heard you got a perfect score on the entrance exam. How old are you? I'm 17. Rude coldly answered, I'm 15. The blue-haired boy showed no surprise and said, I knew it, you're younger than me. He introduced himself, I'm Dio Varus, you can call me Dio. Rude politely replied, got it, young master? Dio quickly protested, just talk comfortably here, age doesn't matter as long as... Before he could finish, he was startled by Professor Hall's voice, Dio Varus. He gently said, I understand you want to befriend Krishy since he ranked first in the exam, but I'll give you time to chat later. Dio pouted, You're so cruel. Ignoring the commotion around him, Rude sank into thought I should focus on not drawing attention. Rude glanced to a corner. The lonely image of Leducis Dien was captured in Rude's eyes, and he thought quietly, observing him. Curious classmates gathered around Rude. Sorry you're Rude Krishy, right? Can I call you Rude? Where are you from? Do you have a private tutor? Rude thought to himself, even though they knew I got a perfect score, they also knew I had a strange weakness, a chronic illness. I thought that if I stayed silent, there wouldn't be any problems, yet the students kept asking me questions, even though I didn't answer. What illness do you have? Hey, why are you asking so directly? Rude tiredly looked at the crowd surrounding him. But why do they care about me so much? During the break, the students again crowded around Rude's table. How old are you, sorry? While walking down the hallway, students still stood blocking the path where Rude walked. Hey, Rude tiredly looked at the crowd in front of him. Is it because today is my first day? It must be. What's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Dio appeared to rescue Rude. Come on, everyone disperse. I've been assigned the important task of showing him around the school. A student questioned, what did the teacher say? Another person chimed in, I want to go too. Rude turned to look at Leducis Dien's seat. When one person spoke up, another followed. Many students chimed in, me too, me too. Dio immediately protested, don't be silly. I fought hard to get this task. Rude thought he's not here. Rude wondered where did he go. A hand quietly rested on Rude's shoulder. Dio pulled Rude out of his thoughts. All right, let's go. Rude frowned internally, my friend. When did that happen? Outside the classroom, Dio and Rude were strolling down the school hallway. Dio explained this school is quite big, so it might confuse you a bit, but I'm sure you'll get used to it in just a few days. He glanced at Rude. I don't think you'll have any problems. Oh, I'll call you Rude, right? Rude coldly replied, sure, whatever. Dio leaned back casually, chatting while Rude was busy admiring the scenery when I first got here. I was really worried. You probably know it's not easy for nobles to get into this school. After being accepted, I thought I wouldn't have to try anymore and my happiness would begin. Dio bent over holding his head in despair because he ranked last in the exam, but I was wrong. The reality didn't change at all. Dio said to Rude with admiration, You're amazing, Rude. You're the first to get a perfect score, completely opposite to me. I really hate that. Rude replied, It's just luck. Dio, hearing Rude's words, burst into tears, then share some of that luck with me. Rude abruptly said, I think you're pretty great too. Dio looked at Rude confused. You seriously said that the school has so many new students, yet you're at the bottom of the rankings? That's impressive. Not everyone can do that. Dio, after hearing that, froze up. He pointed at himself and said, can you not say that with such a serious face? Are you mocking me because I'm at the bottom? Rude replied, not at all. Not at. Arriving at their destination, Dio spoke up, here we are. Dio introduced the magnificent place before them. This is where we often hang out, the central library of Helios. Rude assessed, it's quite large, isn't it? Dio replied, it has countless valuable books and materials. He pointed at the glowing golden orbs on the table. Dio asked, do you see that? Rude wondered, those magical orbs? Dio answered, exactly. They have magic that blocks sound. There's only one at each table. If you sit there all outside, noise will be blocked, helping you focus better while reading. That's why I can talk comfortably right now. Dio cheerfully continued, what do you think? Isn't it cool? Rude looked around and thought to himself, I'm just curious about the maintenance costs. Dio introduced the library has a total of 4 floors, but we're only allowed on the first floor. Rude asked, confused, why. Dio hesitated and replied, well, consider it the sorrow of those in the lower class. A mysterious voice echoed from the upper floor, causing Dio to freeze. Hey, you there, the guy with dark green hair. The blonde guy spoke up, you're in Mr. Hall's class, right? Dio scratched his head and replied, yeah, that's right. Rude's gaze focused on the logo on the other guy's arm. He thought to himself, that logo, are they senior class students? The blonde guy responded with delight, it's obvious, that monster. He widened his eyes, his voice carrying a dangerous undertone. So what's up? Dio, filled with fear, replied, he's still normal. The blonde guy smirked. Really, that's too bad. He turned his back with his friends and said, just go on with your business. After they disappeared from the library, Dio held his head with both hands. I thought my heart was about to jump out of my chest. Rude, confused, asked, why are you so tense? Is it because they're higher ranked? Dio stood there frozen, staring at Rude. Finally, he broke the silence. Oh, Rude, a young soul who has never tasted the real world. Rude, puzzled, replied, what do you mean by that? Dio placed both hands on Rude's shoulders. He spoke cautiously. Let me tell you a story. A story that will help you survive in Helios, so listen carefully. Dio raised a finger seriously. First, never go against the upper-class here ace. He explained, they are exceptionally talented individuals recognized by the school for their skills. There are fewer than 20 of them, but each possesses extraordinary power and privileges to face hundreds of enemies alone. Dio warned, the day you confront them will be the day your peaceful school life ends. Rude wondered, but haven't they not awakened their powers yet? Dio continued, the school has 400 students, but only 20 Hiras. They are like the sky and stars to us. Oh, Herace! Rude helplessly interrupted before Dio could praise them further. So what's the second thing? Dio leaned in and whispered in Rude's ear. The second thing you need to be careful of Chevle von Hadelio. Rude asked, who is that? Dio replied, the sparkling blonde guy from earlier. Dio rubbed his chin and explained seriously, he's a dangerous guy. If you see him, it's best to stay as far away as possible. Although encountering a hairy ace isn't common, if you can avoid them, do so. They are strong and exceptional, but their personalities, Rude bluntly said, they're annoying. Dio quickly cut him off before his words attracted the attention of all the other students around. Dio warned, shh, keep your voice down. What if someone hears listen closely, there are things you absolutely need to know.